Welcome into our West Palm Beach studios. I'm Monica McNutt, and this is the A-10 Spotlight, a weekly half-an-hour show talking all things A-10. Yes, you guessed it. This is a special year for the conference as they celebrate 40 years of achievement. We're here to take you along for the ride and celebrate with them all season long. And since it's November, you saw it in the open, basketball season is almost here. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about a title. The A-10 has crowned their 2015 cross-country champions. Let's head out to Mechanicsville, Virginia for the men's cross-country championships. The Hawks of St. Joe's, they finished with 77 team points on their way to capturing their first A-10 cross-country championship since 2009. St. Joe's was led by two top five finishers in senior Paul Shaleski and junior Jimmy Daniels. Overall, SJU had 5 runners finish in the top 30. Kudos to them. Let's check out some of the award winners from the men's contest. Mason senior Steve Flynn crushing that 5-mile race with 24 minutes, 21.1 seconds. His teammate picks up the most outstanding rookie award, Grayson Morgan, right behind him at 25 minutes and 7 seconds. The Mason men almost with the clean sweep, but the Coach of the Year award goes to Mike Glavin out of St. Joe's with the champs. Over on the women's side of the competition, it was the Richmond Spiders. Those ladies took home their first A-10 title, with 87 points, just barely beating out 2-time defending champion Duquesne. The Spiders had 4 competitors finish among the top 20 and were led by senior Tara Hanley, who recorded a 4th place finish. The women's award winners, LaSalle's Morgan Zeckley, she picks up most outstanding performer, most outstanding rookie, Caroline Yarbrough with a time of 17:20.9, and then Coach of the Year, Lori Taylor out of Richmond. The Atlantic 10 men's basketball season tips off on Friday, November 13th. Now, there was some moving and shaking in the A-10 this offseason as 3 new head coaches joined the ranks, and most notably, Shaka Smart leaves VCU. He's off to Texas. Former assistant Will Wade, he'll take over at the helm for the Rams, and he promises to maintain the signature havoc in VCU. They were picked to finish 5th in the preseason poll, and here is the complete list of the A-10 preseason poll. The top half of the conference is projected. No surprise, Archie Miller and the Dayton Flyers picked first. According to the coaches, Dayton is also the toughest place to play in conference. All 4 of the top teams received first place votes. One coach told me at Media Day that they flat out thought GW would be the last team standing come March. VCU and Richmond round out the top half. And then the 8-14 side of it all. As you see there, a lot of coaches pointed out that in this conference, the difference in finishing from 10 to 4 could be a few plays. That's just how much parity exists across the board. Down at the bottom, the newbies, Jeff Neubauer at Fordham and Dave Paulson at Mason. As they say, they get to play with house money. Much of the reason that the Dayton Flyers were picked first, juniors Kendall Pollard and Scoochie Smith, Pollard averaging 12.7 points and 5.3 rebounds, while Smith tallies nearly 4 assists per game. Archie Miller has led the Flyers to 5 NCAA tournament wins over the past 2 years.
If I had one big hope, it would be that Scoochie Smith could maybe continue on with sort of his late season surge that he had. I think probably about the last 9 or 10 games of his sophomore year, he gave us a chance to really sort of win in the biggest time of the year. And my hope would be for him to be able to start the season in a little more of that sort of experience level that he had at the end. Because if that's the case, and your point guard's playing well early, you have a chance.
That junior class for the Flyers is on track to become the winningest class in Dayton history if they can keep it up this year. Now, speaking of basketball, in case you missed it, the Zebras, though they'll be calling it just a little bit differently. The NCAA has approved multiple rules changes in men's basketball in an effort to speed up the game, increase scoring, and create a better overall product. Some of the rule changes, well, they're going to talk about pace of play, so we're down to a 30-second shot clock this year. The restricted area expands to 4 feet from the traditional, or the 3 feet that it was last season. Faking fouls. Now, this one's going to be interesting, folks. It can be reviewed by the officials and is subject to penalty. What the penalty is, I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then the 5-second closely guarded rule has been eliminated. Now, whether you like the changes or not, they'll apply to everybody. Here are some reactions from the A-10 coaches.
Well, they have so many rule changes that I'm hoping that some of them will be impactful. I think a shortened shot clock is going to eventually help us a little bit.
The game is totally going to change this year. So will they be impactful? I mean, this is a totally new era of college basketball. So Rick Byrd is the one who got this done. He's the coach of Belmont. The changes, the fact that they've changed over 20 rules in 1 year, the fact that the shot clock went from 35 to 30, all that's happened in 1 year, this will be a different game.
Learning how to play physically without fouling is one of the key ingredients for any player. It is a physical game, but it has to be physical, you know, within your torso, not the pushing, the shoving, and the grabbing.
I'm hoping that the new rule changes of 30-second shot clock and the non-reset of the backward 10-second call helps us put a little more pressure on teams and get the tempo moving.
You know what, I think, you know, the hand check rule, you know, the freedom of movement rule has been something that's been talked about a lot. You know, it's tended to get called kind of early in the non-conference schedule. So it'll be interesting to see if you know, once we get into those conference wars, you know, whether that rule is, you know, is still called with the emphasis that's going to be called early in the year.
I think the one great one is not resetting the 10-second clock in the backcourt. I think we have to admit, we have to be big boys about this. College basketball was broken. It was not a pleasure to watch night in and night out. The rivalry, the intensity, yes, but the basketball, no. And now we have a chance to, through these rules and through cooperation with the referees, and if we can call fouls and make the game less physical and make it more skillful, then I'm all for the rule changes.
What you didn't get to see was Coach Martelli tell me that the rule changes are really much to do about nothing. But we'll get into that a little bit more later in the show with our resident expert. But now let's turn back to Martelli and St. Joe's. Well, they've made sure that their legendary head coach isn't going anywhere anytime soon. He agreed to a multi-year contract extension. And out of all the conference coaches, Martelli has the most wins. And over his 20 seasons, he's averaging 19 W's a year. So last season, when his team lost 18 games, it was a little bit of an outlier. Here's Martelli on what has to happen for success to come to the squad this year.
I'll measure success based on our next practice. And if we're better that day than we were the day before, then I'll be happy. And then at the end of the year, if that measuring stick stays at the end of the year, if we're playing our best basketball, then I'm satisfied.
Most coaches would be satisfied. All right, we're just getting started here on the A-10 Spotlight. We've got much more to come on A-10 basketball. When we get back from the break, I'll also go one-on-one with Mark Adams. You got to stick around for that. Plus, if you think you have a busy schedule, you got to check out this young lady's schedule. Morgan French, an inspiring student athlete from Davidson, will have her story here next. Welcome back to the A-10 Spotlight. I'm Monica McNutt. Now, for many of us, it seems like there just aren't enough hours in the day to get everything done. Davidson sophomore Morgan French, though, she's not your typical student athlete. French is a native of Fredericksburg, Virginia. She balances her course load, field hockey, and being an active member of the ROTC.
Davidson College is one of the most selective liberal arts institutions in the country. The school's website uses the word vigorous to describe a Davidson education. 23 Rhodes Scholars have called Davidson their alma mater. Davidson student athletes know what they're getting into. They know that this is one of the most difficult student-athlete balancing acts out there. For Morgan French, the challenge goes beyond the hours studying in the library or practicing on the field. Morgan is in the Army ROTC program, and on this Thursday morning, she is up before the sun, doing a ruck march around town.
A significant number of people in my family have previous military service, so it's always kind of in the back of my mind that, yeah, like this is a viable option for me. That would be something that I would want to do with my life.
Both of French's parents were U.S. Marines.
If you had asked me when I was younger, I would have been 100% yes, I'm going to go in the Marine Corps.
But Morgan wanted to play Division I field hockey, and her friend and current teammate, Hannah Fisher, had made her aware of Davidson College.
My sisters had also come to Davidson, so she was going to be a part of something that I was really excited about, but she also was going to be a part of ROTC as well as playing a sport, as well as coming to an institution like Davidson, which is so hard already. And the fact that she does all of these things still amazes me, and I'm really inspired by her.
French received a 4-year ROTC scholarship. After completion of the program and graduation from Davidson, she will be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army.
So Morgan is definitely a high-quality cadet. It's a highly competitive program, so that in itself speaks highly of what she's doing here within the program.
Because this is a program that trains officers for the United States Army.
So I have class once a week and PT 3 times a week. And then 1 week in a month we have lab, which lasts all day.
I knew the demands would be tough, but honestly, I never hear her complain or talk about physical training in the morning before coming and running sprints on the field with the team. She just does a great job of balancing it all and getting it done.
Class loads themselves are hard for any Davidson student, so it really is a test sometimes to balance my time well, be able to get enough sleep and still hang out with my friends.
I don't ever think she's too busy. I think sometimes she just knows how to manage her time, and so she'll say no to things when she knows she has things to get done or she knows she needs to go to sleep pretty early.
I sometimes forget that she even does ROTC because she really puts 100% on our field every day, and I know that she's doing well in the classroom. For her to balance all three things, I'm just continually impressed that she does it without showing any signs of stress.
And French is already seeing how Davidson field hockey and the ROTC program complement each other.
Skills that I've learned on the field, I can apply to ROTC. Skills that I've learned at ROTC, I can apply to field hockey. They're team activities. You have to work together to really accomplish the mission, whether it's an actual mission out in the field with your squad or whether it's on the field with your team.
Any student that can balance the demands of Davidson College and ROTC is definitely doing excellent things. And to balance that with field hockey is, I mean, just exceptional.
Wow. French is one of 6 Wildcats named to the National Academic Squad last year. Now, that squad recognizes student athletes who have achieved a cumulative GPA of 3.30 or higher through their first semester of the academic year, so she's getting it all done. All right, don't go anywhere, because when the A-10 Spotlight returns, we'll take a look at the new coaches in the conference and what the fans can expect.
When Rohan is winning in practice, when Rohan's got you locked down on defense, he'll probably say a little bit of something.
Plus, trash talking, it's a part of the game, right? Coming up next, the coaches will break down their players' trash talking skills. Welcome back to the A-10 Spotlight. I'm Monica McNutt, and I'm joined by the Mark Adams here on the couch. Mark, let's talk basketball in the A-10. We got to start off with Dayton.
I love the Dayton Flyers. What Archie Miller has done, he's led the Flyers to the best renaissance of college basketball since the Don Donaher era. And I'm old enough to know exactly what that was. When you talk about Dayton, they lose Jordan Seibert, who was a tremendous first-team A-10 player. And they also have lost, at least for a semester, Dyshawn Pierre, who was first-team all-conference going into the season as a preseason player, if he was available. He looks like he will be back in the second semester. So what does Dayton have to build on? Kendall Pollard, one of the most improved players in the country last season. He won the Chris Daniels Award. He upped his scoring average significantly from his first year to his second year for the Dayton Flyers. He upped that average over 12 points per game. More than 4 rebounds per game, he upped his rebound average. Kendall Pollard is so special. Between him and Dyshawn Pierre, if he's back, and all indications are that he will be back, along with Scoochie Smith, who finished the season so well, this is a special Dayton Flyer team. And Kendall Pollard will lead the way early, but watch out for Pierre and watch out for Go when we talk about Scoochie Smith. I love that kid.
Go. All right, guys, there's the graphics for the stats on Kendall Pollard. Mark, you talked about it, just showing tremendous growth from freshman year and now into his junior year, or into his senior year, rather.
That's what Archie Miller does. He really develops his players well, and it's such a great winning tradition that this is a Dayton Flyer ball club that could run a deep NCAA tournament like they did to the Elite Eight 2 seasons ago. This team is special, and this coach really gets it.
All right, so that's Dayton, and obviously no secret there, but we've got 3 new coaches that joined the conference. Let's kick it off with Jeff Neubauer at Fordham.
Jeff Neubauer, in a word, is innovative. Okay. I love the fact that he's a former John Beilein assistant who is the most innovative head coach in the country, in my view, and Jeff has learned his lessons well. At Eastern Kentucky, went there for 10 seasons, 5 20-win seasons for the Colonels. He won the OVC regular season title in 2015, and in 2014 won the OVC tournament. This guy, he understands the intricacies of offense. I love his schemes. He's one of the most innovative coaches. That's the problem with college basketball today when we talk about offense. Everybody's running pick and roll. Jeff Neubauer gets motion along with spacing. And let me tell you, Fordham's going to be a different team to guard this year under Coach Neubauer.
For folks that aren't familiar with Neubauer, they also got to know that his 2014 Eastern Kentucky squad challenged Kansas early in that NCAA tournament, tied at halftime. They go on to lose. All right, so among Neubauer's classmates, we'll call him Dave Paulson at George Mason.
Dave Paulson, this was a brilliant hire for George Mason. This is the 10th anniversary of that special George Mason team that went to the NCAA tournament and knocked off UConn to go to the Final Four. You know, one thing I like about Dave Paulson, he brings big guys along. Mike Muscala is one of the best bigs in the Patriot League history, played for the Atlanta Hawks last season. He's got a guy by the name of Siobhan Thompson at George Mason, who's a double-double machine. Paulson won championships at Bucknell and the Patriot, but what he really does is develop big guys. When you've got a double-double machine like Thompson, this is a huge, huge coaching get for George Mason to bring that team along.
Paulson, a 3-time Patriot Coach of the Year, so I mean, you're absolutely right. He's on to something. All right, last guy, VCU, we know Shaka left. Will Wade now has very big shoes to fill.
Will Wade was Shaka Smart's assistant. He's like his brother from another mother. These two guys do it exactly the same, so the transition for VCU is going to be really, really simple and really, really effective. Let's look at Will Wade as an assistant and look at the numbers of Smart with VCU and Will Wade last season with the Chattanooga Moccasins. Look at the points per game, identical. Look at the defensive field goal percentage, identical. Look at the three-point defensive percentage, identical. They are brothers from another mother, so look for VCU with Mo Alley Cox with his 7-foot-1-inch wingspan to dominate inside defensively.
Twinsies. All right, Mark, so we got to mention it. We talked about the rule changes this year. The big one, the 30-second shot clock. I mean, what are your thoughts on the rule changes?
Well, first of all, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of difference. When you're taking 35 to 30, I really think that you're going to have a problem scoring the ball. I mean, that's been the case with 35-second shot clock. It's going to be the case with 30. I think that is a rule that really is not going to make any change in college basketball.
All right, so among some of the other rules, we got the restricted area, faking the fouls. In general, though, Mark, broad statement, what do you think of the rule changes as a whole?
Hate them.
Okay,
If I was king for a day, I'd change it a lot different ways, but that's for another show.
We got to let people hear your scenario really quickly. Can you sum up your scenario if you could do it?
Well, number one, I think it should be a 45-second shot clock versus a 35 because scoring went down, actually, on the 35-second shot clock. I think the game should be 4 quarters, and the reason for that, I think you ought to provide bonus points for a team to score 20 per quarter. It's crazy, but I love it.
I just wanted people to hear it because when I heard it, I was like, an incentive in basketball? All right, guys. Well, when we come back, we hope to get to some of this trash talking in the A-10. I promise you, it's worth a listen. Welcome back to the A-10 Spotlight. Okay. In the heat of competition, whether you think back to your personal athletic career or an intense card game with family and friends, a little trash talking, it's usually par for the course, right? Well, certainly completing at a high level like A-10 basketball is no different. We asked coaches about the art of the jabber at Media Day.
Yeah, you know, we do have some young men on our team who grew up in New York, so of course we have some trash talkers.
Antoine Space, the new guy, has come in with a little bit of an attitude and kind of a big mouth on the floor. All positive, good stuff, but he's got practices quite feisty and fun to be around. And I don't promote trash talking, but I'm not one to pull him back if it's good, positive, kind of competitive trash talking.
In small doses. Okay. You know, usually they can give me trash talk. I might trash talk with them a little bit when and we have our assistant coaches try to drive to the basket against them. So there's a little fun trash talking.
On our team, it would have been Briante Weber who left for the Miami Heat. No doubt about that. I would say Corey Bilberry right now, our transfer from Oral Roberts.
I'm learning about our guys' personalities. We had an event a couple days ago called Ramtown, and we have a freshman who's from the Czech Republic, and I did not understand his personality. He was out there dancing and having more fun than anyone, and so I had no idea about him. So give me some time to figure out who's talking.
Steve McIlvain, he's yet to take the floor through the public eye, but make no mistake, there's no one who talks more than him, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing.
That's probably Kevin Larson. Kevin Larson in a good way. He likes to run his mouth a lot in practice, and he's very confident.
When Rohan is winning in practice, when Rohan's got you locked down on defense, he'll probably say a little bit of something. And if it gets out of hand, we'll nip it in the bud. But it's more his enthusiasm and passion and his competitiveness, and that he just loves to win, and he just likes to rub it in a little bit sometimes.
Probably Ty right now, Jared Terrell, a major trash talker, and he's jacked physically. So there's a little bit of teeth behind his words. And then Karan Iverson, he's a little bit more subtle, but he has to be because he's a string bean out there.
Aaron Brown is a fifth-year kid. He's a local kid from transferred to us from West Virginia, and he talks too darn much for me.
Coach Platt, our coach, our assistant coach.
Are you serious? You're serious? Okay, so how do the guys respond to him, though?
Great, they love it.
If they have time to talk trash, they better have time to talk who's covering what man and where the screens are.
No surprise, Coach McKillop's answer about trash talking is we don't trash talk. But anyway, let's turn the page to soccer. As you check out these award winners, you'll notice George Washington and Dayton cleaning up the awards. Makes sense. George Washington and Dayton are the two squads sitting atop the women's soccer standings. George Washington at 10-0, Coach of the Year Sarah Barnes doing an outstanding job, and Dayton at 8-2. The women's tournament will start Friday, go through Saturday, and the final championship game will be here on ASN at noon on Sunday. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the A-10 Spotlight here on ASN. We're just a week away from basketball, so buckle in. It promises to be another fantastic season. The conference is celebrating 40 years, a very proud 40 years, so we'll take you along for the ride right here on the show. I'm Monica McNutt. We'll see you back here next week.